Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. Hope you guys are well wherever it is that you may be around the world. We are joined by Ben Jacobs again, as always. It's a pleasure to have him here. We'll be talking to him in a second, but make sure you guys are smashing the likes, subscribing to both channels, and let's get into it. Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you guys are having a pleasant day. And as you can see, we are joined by Ben Jacobs again for a busy period, or busy January period, should we say as well. So let's say hello to him first. How you doing, Ben?
I'm good. How are you? Just 11 days to go, I believe, if my maths is correct.
11 days to go, and I feel like there's more to brew. You know, it's been quite an interesting January window, especially from a Chelsea standpoint as well. So it's going to be good to obviously get into a couple of things as well. But I wanted to just quickly start off before we start talking about the players and going through that. Sky Sports brought up an image of how much Chelsea has spent since the summer window, since Tobollo obviously took over, and it's come out saying that we spent over around 468.6 million, and some rival fans, even some own Chelsea fans, are questioning how we're doing this, Ben. How are Chelsea able to do this with the financial fair plays and et cetera, et cetera? So my question to you would be, are you surprised or not in terms of how much we've actually spent in such a short space of time? And what are your thoughts on FFP as well?
Well, it's a big topic, but I think the first thing to say, as ever, is that the total spend should be looked at in a variety of different ways. There's the prospective spend, if every single element of a deal is paid up, and very rarely does that actually happen. There is the guaranteed fee. There's the manner in which the guaranteed fee is paid, often, usually, in fact, in installments. And then there's how the money is actually classified on the books. So first of all, don't just judge a massive number, because that whole number has not been paid in one go, and not every aspect of that number is guaranteed. And then the way that clubs do business is they try and stagger the payments. So we have to look at all of this in two ways. One is from a business perspective, and obviously the more you spend, the more you have to balance, because you've got lots of different operational costs. And this is why top clubs tend to use a revolving credit facility. And in addition to that, we know that Chelsea want to get the wage bill down, which will ultimately save some money. So just before we go into the financial fair play side, if we look at the business or operational sense, everybody's making a big clamour around Mykhailo Mudryk, for example, being 100 million euros. But it's not. It's 70 million euros guaranteed. It's not in one lump sum. And then the add-ons pertain to things like winning the Premier League and the Champions League. And obviously, if Chelsea do that, they'll bring in more income. In addition to that, the length of the contract helps with financial fair play. We can come on to that in a moment. But if we just take the books out of it and look at the value, a lot of noise was around insane wages, 200,000 a week. It's not. It's under 100,000 a week. And as crazy as this might have sounded 10 years ago by Premier League standards, for a player of that potential and quality, it's a very modest wage. So therefore, by having that 7.5-year contract plus one additional optional year, if Mudryk succeeds, he's buying into a vision, and he won't get some crazy contract renewal doubling the wages after 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. So instead of buying a finished product for maybe a lower fee to, let's just say, the tune of something in the region of, I don't know, 50 million quid, and in addition to that, 200,000 a week, and then finding that you're stuck with those wages and you've paid the outlay on the fee. In addition to that, you choose to get Mudryk at 100k, and in those first 2 or 3 years before he has any ability to renew, you have a situation where you're gaining that value for money, and you're effectively, comparative to the first option that I've just outlined, saving 100k a week. 100k a week times by 52 weeks a year is a lot of money, but 200k a week is double that. So if you look at what you save on the wage bill and the control that you have over Mudryk, because it points to sustainability, it points to value in the long term. Chelsea will feel that those numbers add up, and over time, effectively, Mudryk might earn the add-on fees in the savings and the wages, and if they're triggered, because he's contributing towards Chelsea winning the Premier League and or the Champions League. So the money from a vision point of view adds up. The money from a strategic point of view adds up, and the money from a business and operational sense is not all spent up front. So everyone likes to cling to the number, but it isn't really that number at this point. And if it becomes that number, it's because the add-ons have been hit, which probably means that the player has helped create a success. Then if we look at the financial fair play side, Chelsea are, as I said, when the ownership group came in, comfortably within financial fair play. And that is important to note, because people somehow presume that the rules are being broken here. And there's two kinds of financial fair play. There's actual financial fair play, which is UEFA, and that is a little bit harder in many ways to stay within. And then there's the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules, which over the course of the pandemic were relaxed. And then the other thing to say is, if you get too close to the boundaries allowed in terms of losses, then you can inject an element of equity into your football club too. So you can almost plan to teeter on the edge and then inject equity and be okay. So the upside of Chelsea's approach is that on the books, they can offset the transfer fee against a long contract length. And in doing so, it allows them to have a smaller outlay in each year and also in each financial fair play cycle. If they keep doing it over many, many windows, then they'll have that outlay per player. And even though each one is small, it will all add up and it will all linger, and it will be a cost that effectively chips away at their freedom in the market. So sometimes it's better to try and do a shorter-term contract or list the fee into a financial fair play cycle where you know you've got leeway, because it doesn't matter within the rules if you're £1 within or 20 million within. Once that cycle's passed, you're clean. So a lot of clubs don't want huge leeway. They actually want to do the opposite of Chelsea and creatively get costs within a cycle. So then when the next cycle starts and they want to spend big, they've got almost a blank slate. Chelsea, the opposite. They are allocating funds that are going to linger across multiple cycles, which is why, to some extent, the players need to have longevity and success at the football club, because if they don't, then Chelsea might have a financial problem. Then I think the last thing we need to point out here is just that anybody criticizing the model and saying that Chelsea are spending irresponsibly are perhaps not factoring in the overall business strategy and the room for potential. So we shouldn't look at what Chelsea have only done in the past. We should look at how they're planning on creating income in the future. And that will be through player sales, which they've always been able to use to offset heavy operational losses at times. But there's the multi-club model as well. So by the time Chelsea in the next cycle or two, and because financial fair play is in cycles, we have to look quite far ahead here before there either will be a significant sustainability and stability, or the opposite, those that are criticizing Chelsea saying that they're going to get themselves into financial trouble. By the time that eventuality actually happens, the multi-club model will be more defined and there will be income through that. And in addition to that, there may be more player sales, plus there may be more of a roadmap for stadium redevelopment, which will create more income, all of which, again, could give Chelsea more leeway. So I don't think we should look at this plan, which is what everyone's doing at the moment, just as a lump sum spending. We should look at the fact that they've sat down over the last 6 months or so and said, what do we need to do to improve the football side? Of course, we need to spend now. But how can we offset that on the business side and on the brand side? Well, of course, we need to build a multi-club model. We need to get more effective youth coming through. We need to get more value out of youth that fail. We need to reduce the wage bill. We need to renovate the stadium. And in the long run, we need to build a global model to ensure that we're keeping pace with our rivals. And when all of that comes together, and it's going to take time, of course, Chelsea's profits and Chelsea's books are going to look completely different to how they do now. And that's why people shouldn't jump the gun and just say huge, crazy spending they're going to be in financial trouble, because
Yeah.
how financial fair play works and profit and sustainability, the way that you declare on the books is completely different to the way that you actually spend the money in reality. That has a business concern, but it is a different type of concern to financial fair play or profit and sustainability.
Yeah, and on top of all of that, I think thank you. I mean, I think for a lot of Chelsea fans needed to hear that, to be honest. When you hear a lot of stuff in around financial fair play, how it works, what Chelsea doing, some Chelsea fans getting a little bit frustrated where the money's being spent and then where it's going to leave the club. But ultimately, like we've saying, there's going to be a lot of outgoings as well. I do think they're kind of picking the bag up and turning it upside down a little bit here and just trying to really, if they can get a target and it suits the philosophy and the project that they want to do moving forward, then I think they're going to go for players like we've seen in January market and move in the way that they have. So, they're acting, and I don't knock them for the ambition. And that's the one thing I will say. They've got a plan. They're showing a lot of ambition, and they're trying to achieve what that is. Maybe a little bit quicker than expected, but are trying to actually, get things done, which is good. And I think as Chelsea fans, we've just got to stay patient. The pieces of the puzzles are slowly coming together when you look at how quick we're moving and where we're sort of trying to go with all this as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Chelsea in the next sort of couple of years. But let's move on to players. Before we start talking about the incomings that we already know about and potential of other incomings, just wanted to get your thoughts on Mason Mount's contract, because it seems to have sort of lingered around a little bit. Obviously, Simon Phillips come out today saying that they're still very confident that Chelsea and Mason Mount will come to an agreement. He loves the club. I mean, a lot of Chelsea fans look at Mason Mount as being the player that's sort of the front image, many ways, of Chelsea, should we say? What have you heard in terms of Mason Mount and his contract? Is there anything you would like to add to it?
Well, historically, we know that when the new ownership group came in, they had two priorities on the playing side in terms of the existing squad members. One was to renew Reece James, which they've done, and the other was Mason Mount. And you can understand why, with a player like Mount, he's looked at what he either perceives or knows, and players talk, Reece James to have got, or he's watching who is coming in and is ultimately using both of those things as a yardstick. And there's a slight paradox here, because actually what Reece James got was a little bit against what Chelsea are doing with some of these new incoming signings who are on more modest wages comparatively and on even longer contracts. And a player like Mount is kind of caught in between, because he doesn't want to sign a long-term contract beyond what he's comfortable with if the terms are not exceptional. Whereas somebody like Madueke is coming in as a newer player and is signing something that is very long, clearly in terms of wages significantly below what a player like Mason Mount would expect. And then Chelsea are, of course, torn, because as they revamp everything and they've got a number of creative-minded players, they have to balance where they think Mount's place and future now lies, comparative perhaps to other players, either incomings or existings. And Chelsea have got a lot of competition there. And that's the sort of interesting thing about the manner in which they've moved in the market, that you can say with a player like Madueke, he's a left winger, but he can also play forward and in more central areas. And similarly with existing players at the club, like Christian Pulisic, for example, he can play in a variety of positions behind either a front striker or two forwards. And therefore Mason Mount's form has dipped, and also perhaps his place in the pecking order has gone down slightly, or will go down by the time everybody is fit. And Christopher Nkunku also comes in as well. So I think Chelsea, therefore, are quite bullish about the situation. And as I understand it, the original offer before all of this transfer flurry occurred to Mason Mount was not quite at the level that he was looking for. And that's not only financially speaking, it's also around terms, it's around contract length. And these are key parts, because the player sometimes will want to sign, but they'll hope to give themselves an out. We're going to see that with Bukayo Saka for sure at Arsenal, if and or when, with when being more likely he finally signs, there'll still probably be a Champions League clause. There'll still probably be something on the player side that gives them the opportunity to leave. And it might be the same for Mount, because he maybe has a fear now that if he signs a new deal, regardless of the actual wages, is he going to continue to get the game time? Is he going to continue to be one of the key integral players? And the answer is yes, when he's at his best. But there's so much competition in that area now, it may be of some concern. So it's not just Chelsea that are delaying this. It's very much mutual, and neither party's come to an agreement yet. So my expectation is that it is still a priority. I know there's some rumor around Liverpool courting the player, and we heard this with Pulisic as well. There was no substance to the Pulisic side. And again, you've got to bear in mind that Liverpool are not in a position now to spend that kind of money. And come the summer, they're going to have priorities like Mateus Nunes, Jude Bellingham. So Mason Mount would be a massive outlay. And until they get minority investment or a full takeover, or without Champions League football heading into the summer, they're going to struggle to find the kind of money to get those 4 or 5 players staying within, I would have thought, 150 million or under without Champions League football. So there's a lot of rumour. And naturally, on the Mount side, you're going to fuel that rumour because you're talking to Chelsea. But I think we're just going to have to wait and see on this one. Yeah. The Kante contract is probably the one that will get done first. Then the Jorginho one is the most doubtful. And in Mount's situation, there's a little bit more confidence because it's obviously not expiring this summer. So we're going to have to wait and see. And I don't think we're going to see any movement in January because of the window. But come February, they'll sit down again and see whether they can come to a deal. But knowing that they're going to do that in February tells you that there's a willingness there to get something done at Mount's end, because if there wasn't, feelers would be put out now in January, even if a move was not possible in January, to try and sort of scare Chelsea into some form of submission, because that's generally how things work. And therefore, what we find in the last 10 days of a transfer window with any player should be taken to some extent with a pinch of salt, because a lot of movement will be put out there now to send a message ahead of the summer, either to a club to try and hold on to a player, or to a club that a deal may be done come the end of the season. And we may well be seeing that with Moises Caicedo as well.
Yes, and that's one that we're definitely going to be getting into very shortly, the midfield and Moises Caicedo. But with Mason Mount, I think it's one of the things where I do see him staying at Chelsea. I do. I think he will. And I think we're just going to have to be patient to see if they can obviously sort out the contract agreement between the two as well. Now, we are going to talk about midfield. We are going to talk about Madueke as well, who signed yesterday. But we're going to quickly jump onto an area that we've been hearing a little bit of noise about of recently, maybe not for the January market, but potentially the summer window. The goalkeeping position. I know, Ben, you wanted to talk on it as well. We've been linked to Raya from Brentford, and now with the Leeds goalkeeper I've just read today as well. And obviously, I just want to get your thoughts in and around the goalkeeper position, because we have Mendy, we have Kepa. As Chelsea fans, I don't feel we see them as our real number ones moving forward. We're looking at Potter as well, and we're thinking Mendy's maybe not favoured due to not being able to play out of his feet. Kepa's still, yeah, he's all right, but not 100. I don't know. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on the goalkeeping area with Chelsea?
Yeah, a lot of names flying around. And I think in the summer, we're going to see a huge amount of movement from within the Premier League. David Raya is one that you've mentioned that I think is in hot demand, and Chelsea are definitely there. Spurs are the ones looking at him a little more seriously at this point, but Chelsea could very easily escalate the situation. Even Manchester United could come into the mix there. But I think that Tottenham are the ones absolutely desperate to look at this succession plan for Hugo Lloris, who's made a number of errors, unfortunately, for this season, but was very solid at the World Cup from a France perspective, even though he wasn't able to ultimately win the trophy. So David Raya is there. Rob Sanchez is another one that Brighton are expecting a lot of interest in, and Chelsea will be one of the clubs considering that one as well. And I think that outside of the Premier League, even though there's not going to be a Chelsea link, you've got Jan Oblak as well. And a few Premier League clubs believe that there might be a possibility to do something there. And then in addition to that, there's teams, including Chelsea, that need to decide what the strategy is, because the goalkeeper is different. It's a specialist position. And by being a specialist position, you have to make a much clearer pitch in the market. And by that, I mean, you are either looking at a number one, in which case it sends an alarm bell to either Mendy or Kepa, or you're looking at a backup. And the backup's the hardest one to find, because you've got to get a goalkeeper that is either younger and feels like they start backup and then will move into a position to become number one, or you got to get someone that's comfortable being a number two. And that's the balance that Chelsea have got at the moment, that Kepa's making some outstanding saves. And when Mendy's fit, there's genuine competition. But as we saw over the summer with Kepa in particular, when he felt he wasn't going to get game time, he was looking away, and a deal could have got done at one point with Napoli. So I think that's the challenge. Chelsea would love Mendy Kepa, but you got to bear in mind that with both of them, they'll have ambitions to be playing regularly. So you have to manage that situation, and one of them may exit as a consequence. So if you then bring in Raya, then where does that leave both goalkeepers who want to play regularly? Or do you go more for that backup option? So the names that I'm hearing at the Chelsea end on the goalkeeper front is Raya, Rob Sanchez to a lesser extent. And then on top of that, another one that I think we should be keeping an eye on is Jordan Pickford. And Tottenham and Chelsea and Manchester United are all looking at that situation as well. And there could be real value there, especially if Everton go down. And I think that Pickford is very keen on making a move in the summer. I think he feels he's gone about as far as he can now with Everton. So that's one to watch. And then the other name out there in the market in the shorter term, and Nottingham Forest are the team that have made the latest inquiry, and Napoli have had an historical interest as well, is Keylor Navas at PSG. And with Dean Henderson injured, Forest have got Wayne Hennessy as well. But he's more in that backup category rather than your number one style goalkeeper. So I think that's where the definition is needed. And the second half of the season, if both of them can get fit, is going to be very telling as to who ends up finishing the season when there is genuine choice between Mendy and Kepa. And then that will define which one perhaps feels like their time might be up at Chelsea if they want to be playing regular first team football. And I think that from Chelsea's point of view, it wouldn't remotely surprise me if, despite having confidence in both goalkeepers, they do look to bring in a box office goalkeeper signing. And I don't believe that you can sign somebody like David Raya and not use him because he believes he's also a number one Premier League goalkeeper. So This is the challenge, the balance. And that's where I think Graham Potter, more than most positions, will have the ultimate say, because it's such a unique position. And even with the 5 subs, we're not really seeing any variation, perhaps surprisingly so. You know, if you're 4-0 up in a game, 60 minutes on, you've got 5 subs. Why with 5 subs are you not exploring giving your backup goalkeeper more game time? And that's what I liked, by the way, about Brazil in the World Cup. When they were winning in a game, it was the last few minutes, and their third choice goalkeeper, not even their second choice goalkeeper, Weatherton, got brought on simply because it was important at that point from a Brazil perspective to give everybody minutes. But we don't see that normally, and therefore it's a frustrating position being a number 2 goalkeeper. So it's going to be difficult. But I do think that Raya is the sort of hot topic at the moment with a view to the summer. But don't rule out somebody like Pickford creeping into the conversation from a Chelsea perspective, even though I think that Spurs is the more likely one. And this is where there's a battle, because you've got Spurs looking at Raya and Pickford. You got Chelsea looking at Raya and maybe Pickford over time as well, and a few others as well, like Rob Sanchez. So which kind of team gets which top target will then define the backup direction that the other club moves in. But I generally think we're going to see a real flurry and merry-go-round movement of goalkeepers during the summer transfer window.
Will be interesting to see. Will definitely be interesting to see, but definitely one that I think will be, sorted in the summer. Go on.
I said you don't like Pickford, do you?
I'm not. No, is the answer. I'm not too sold on him being a number 1 at Chelsea in terms of where we want to go and where we're kind of trying to do things. I'm not too sure if he's the right goalie for me. I don't know. But then again, if you look at someone like Oblak, is he very great? Is he great at passing out with his feet? I don't really think he is. He's a solid goalie, but he's not a Potter-esque type of goalie, So, equally, we will end up going for either like a Brighton's or a Brentford's goalie or a comfortable defeat. And I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to try and find a goalie that's equally able to do that, but also, a good shot saver as well. I mean, Pickford's a good shot saver. I mean, he's not bad with his feet because we've seen it under England, but I don't know. We'll have to see at a later stage what happens there. I just want to say thank you to Wazar87 for becoming a member at Chelsea Fan TV as well. Thank you very much for doing that. Let's move on, because the midfield is a real area that I really want to delve into with you, actually. And Joe, actually, let's talk about it now. Let's get into it. Obviously, we've spoke about, or we've heard about Moises Caicedo. You've brought out your own tweet in regards to an update in regards to where Chelsea have been with it, and it's a 55 million plus 10 million add-ons, which Brighton have refused, basis on the fact that they want around 75 million plus. So, I mean, I'm assuming they probably want more than 75 million, even if Chelsea win there. But it's an area that Chelsea, obviously, we know are trying to address. It seems to be a bit of an issue at the same time to try and do in the January market, because it looks like the targets that they want are also having very good, seasons at their current teams, valued at their current teams, and equally it makes it very hard for these teams to sell these type of players and then replace in such a short space of time. Hence why they don't want to sell in January. So, my thing to you would be is what's your thoughts on Caicedo to Chelsea? Do you feel we may go back again with a bid? And then on top of that, do you see us going for anyone else? Is there any other targets in and around midfield for Chelsea?
We know that they're going to be busy on the midfield front for sure. It's as simple as that. They tried for Enzo Fernandez. They bid for Moises Caicedo. So they're not going to give up. I still think that Edson Alvarez is bubbling there in the background as a possibility. So don't rule out Chelsea being still very busy in the final few days of the window. And this tells you that they see the need to move now, both in terms of getting young talents at value, but also the now in the sense that they need players in the team because of this horrific list of injuries. And even if everyone was fit, a feeling that the midfield needs revamping. So it's going to be a little bit bizarre if we have all of these signings and they don't bring in a midfielder, because that is the one area I think that most people accept that Chelsea need to strengthen. But you also have to balance the fact that the targets that Chelsea really want are not necessarily available in January. It's a seller's market. So Enzo Fernandez, they tried, and officially the bid was significantly lower than the release clause. So they might have to now revisit that one in the summer. We know that Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice are only available in the summer. And in addition to that, Moises Caicedo, huge money, as I've always reported, is needed to get that deal done. So then do you dump to get someone for the now? And the midfield would have to be for the now, 30, 40, 50, 60 odd million, and then fine, that's counterproductive to a summer target? Or do you actually say people might be outraged if one of the names that's been mentioned doesn't come in now, but if it's only possible in the summer, you wait and you work on it and you plan? And this is ultimately what Chelsea have not done as well as other clubs in the last few windows due to the ownership situation, due to sanctions. They haven't been able to window plan. So now we have to be very cautious about only assuming that Chelsea are fighting for the now when they might have to kind of keep their powder dry and wait. So Caicedo is the one that they really, really like. And as I reported back in December, at first to reveal that target, they were always going to try. But trying is now about playing into Brighton's model. And therefore, it is really in Chelsea's hands in the sense that if they want to hit the valuation, Moises Caicedo will leave in January. But the valuation is obviously set at a point where there's no value to that, which is what gives Brighton all of the control. But Brighton's model is to sell and cash in on the opportunism of a player's price being sky high. And they showed that with Marc Cucurella. Everything came together. The player wanted the move. There was interest from Manchester City. The price was what Brighton wanted. So they're not going to get rid of Caicedo. I've said this many times, unless the number is hit. And Chelsea's initial bid is almost like a marker, and it is below Brighton's valuation. Some at Brighton even tell me that valuation is 80 plus million now. But I think, as I've always reported, 70, 75 gives you a chance. 75 plus is kind of the asking price, but it will depend on the structure of that deal. And Brighton might hold out for even more. They're obviously going to point to Cucurella and say 62 million. It's clearly more than that. They're obviously going to point towards Mudryk and say 70 million upfront fee for a player much less proven than Caicedo. We believe that kind of ballpark is a bare minimum. And that is how Brighton work. And they will not cave on this. So there's no cut price deal here. There's no excellent relationship between the clubs leading to something beneficial in Chelsea's way. The summer's a different story. But if you want Caicedo now, Chelsea would have to make a decision to lay down a number that they, however they justify it, essentially realize internally, even if they don't admit it publicly, is well above the market value, whether that's 75, whether that's 80. It won't be 65 or less for sure under any circumstances. I mean, unless perhaps it was 65 guaranteed in one lump sum or something crazy, but Chelsea won't head in that direction. So it's going to be difficult to get done. But what we wait and see is the new agents that are representing Caicedo make the deal less messy, and they're only just coming in. So it's going to have a twist at the end of the window if they push in the final few days to try and represent their client and get off to a flying start. And that might not necessarily be a deal, but it could be attempting to put the framework of a deal in place, testing the market value more significantly and seeing what's possible, whether in late January as a surprise or whether it's in the summer. So Chelsea are there, Chelsea are pushing. If it's in the summer, the challenge is that Liverpool could potentially enter the race as well. We wait and see. And the value would drop in the summer for sure. So this is where we're at. I think nothing is guaranteed. But as I've said throughout the entire window, and in fact dating all the way back to the middle of December, this is a serious, concrete Chelsea target. And having put in a marker bid, I don't expect them just to fully walk away, because Brighton's stance, they may not say this publicly, is not ever not for sale. It's always just for sale if a valuation suits us and suits the player. And the Brighton CEO is on record. Paul Barber is telling me that only a couple of weeks ago.
With yourself, I think, wasn't it?
With me, so we're not dealing with a club that just say no. We're not dealing with a release clause that sets sky high. We're not dealing with West Ham and Declan Rice last summer. We're dealing with Brighton, who will not set the price at 120 million, but will also not cave to a good deal, but not an astonishing deal. So it's somewhere in the middle of those two extremes. So it's really down to Chelsea, both their finances and their desire. They're going to have to drop something, I think, around 75 million or more, with a great structure to stand a prayer. And that's why the expectation is that Caicedo will stay at Brighton in January, but we wait and see.
Just quickly on that as well, other options in January, Tyler Adams, heard anything else? If there is, I mean, I know Chelsea have got an array of people that they look in certain positions and whatever else, but if Caicedo is out, isn't possible. Do you think that they could go running for maybe because we heard from Peter O'Rourke about the fact that we were looking to do another loan for a midfielder. I don't know how true it was, but it was like it was going to be a loan move with the option to buy at the end as well. And it's like, is there other targets? Have you heard of anyone else other than Caicedo around Chelsea? Or
well, I think the targets that they are looking at are still quite diverse, because it gets to the point now where you put in the legwork in a window right at this stage, and this is important to understand, and then you're happy with your business other than a midfielder. And maybe those midfielders they have tried for, like I said before, they realize that they have made progress on still. Like, not getting a player now is not always failure. You can make progress to the point where you tie them down for the summer and you think, great, we've actually done enough that we will get that done in the summer. So that is the sort of grey area that is underrated. And again, in talking about Caicedo, or in talking about Enzo, or in sounding out Declan Rice, they may well feel like they've made progress to the point where they can actually move in the summer very effectively. And that then changes the market and it alters the way of thinking. And this, again, is why, as a journalist, we are very cautious in how we word things, because results can change things, finances can change things. One signing in one position can change a signing in another position because of money or, because of a variety of factors like injuries, or because of rival suitors coming in at the last minute. So if we learn one thing from Rafinha over the summer, or we learn one thing over Mudryk in this window, it again is that the transfer window in itself is unreliable, and you can get accurate information as of now. But of course, it can change until signatures are done. And I say the same thing in every single show, that if you follow it blow by blow, then you get an accurate account of the now. But the now is not necessarily final. Or if you don't want that and you're not prepared for effectively a plot twist in a movie, then you have to brace yourself just to not listen to anything and then wait until your club announces it. And us as journalists are here to give you the plot, but that plot is fluid. So Chelsea now are in a position where if they're confident in what they can do in the summer and they're happy with their business so far, they might strategically be turning towards a short-term option, a budget option, a depth option, a cheaper option. And we obviously saw that towards the end of the summer window with Zakaria as well. It wasn't their first target, but when fit and playing, even though it took some time to be involved, has been, I think, a very effective and useful person to have within the squad. And it wouldn't surprise me if Chelsea do move late in that direction, because when you've got time in the window, of course you say, let's try and get Caicedo. And then as the days tick away, you have to either get it done or draw the line. And if you draw the line, you have to leave yourself a little bit of time in order to say, well, who is our short-term backup? And clubs are constantly looking for the now, which is related to injuries, which is related to how much they want to spend, which is related to form, which is related to who can get us into or help us get us into a better league position or Champions League football, or of course help us challenge in the Champions League to go and beat Dortmund and beyond. And then you start looking at the long term. And not always can you get that player like Madueke who helps you now, hopefully, but also gives you that long-term valuation. Sometimes you have to get older. Sometimes you have to get more urgent. Look at Arsenal's strategy and how it's changed from Madueke to Trossard. And they won't call that backup. They won't call that failure. They will just point out, no doubt, that the market shifts. And you have to know when is the right time to move and at what value. So this is where Chelsea are now. And I think what we have to think about is that right now, they know that a 10 out of 10 window is getting a long-term box office midfielder. 100 out of 10 window, you would score it if they brought in a Caicedo or a Enzo Fernandez now. A 9 out of 10 window or an 8 out of 10 window might be a sort of Edson Alvarez permanent signing. And, you know, a 7.5 or 8 out of 10 window is probably a shorter term midfielder. And when you look at each individual player, you score them higher. Like Madueke is a box office signing, I think, with huge potential. Madueke is going to create a lot of excitement. Badi Ashil is still a raw talent, but can develop significantly. And, you know, when you only take them as their own entities, but I think that the score is just fractionally lower across the window, because the number one priority is to find a DM or a traditional central midfielder, and that hasn't happened yet. So we have to wait and see, but Chelsea are still working. They will be working, I think, until the final seconds of the window. So it's going to be an exciting 11 days ahead.
It will be. It will be. And there's a lot for Chelsea to potentially still do in this window, which obviously is going to be interesting as well. I want to talk about Madueke in a second, because I know you've only got 10 minutes and you've got to shoot because you're very busy at the moment. But really quickly, we've just had this chat come in asking about any potential outgoings. Big up to Matthew, who says, Ben, quick question for you. Any outgoings for Chelsea for this window? Have you heard of any, or do you think Chelsea will hold on to them just purely because of what we've seen in terms of like injury losses and trying to keep every player?
I mean, Chelsea are actively open to outgoings in certain areas for sure. And I will be surprised if some late offers don't come in, either with a loan or a permanent deal. Hakim Ziyech is still the one to watch. Newcastle have had an interest. It's not like-for-like replacement for Chris Wood, but Eddie Howe did say that it won't be a like-for-like replacement if they find someone. The problem with Ziyech is wages, and Newcastle don't necessarily want to rock their wage structure at this point. And you can understand also from a football and morale point of view how that might send the wrong message in that Newcastle United dressing room if Ziyech comes in on Champions League wages when the current squad are the ones that have got them this far. But there's definitely opportunism there for Chelsea to try and cash in off an excellent World Cup. but he is also involved at the moment, partially, I suppose, down to injuries. But we wait and see whether he can earn the trust and respect of Graham Potter. I said it straight after the World Cup, and I think people disagreed with me at the time, but I said I wanted him to get a run in the side. I thought he'd earned that with his World Cup performances, and the best value that Chelsea will get out of Ziyech, because of what they paid plus the high wages, is by him becoming a success at Chelsea Football Club. But there's interest. Ajax can't afford the fee. There's no real desire to bring him back, but that's his preference. He'd love to go back there. And then in the case of some of the other clubs that have explored him in the past, like Milan, the interest has cooled. But it's wages really that are a big stumbling block. If he was on half the wages, I think there's a few clubs out there that would be very interested in him. But it is about being able to match not just any transfer fee or loan fee, but also the wage demands. Pulisic might have been a different story if he wasn't injured, but Graham Potter's confirmed that he's going nowhere. I still think Conor Gallagher is one to watch, which again might seem strange because he played and very well, I thought, as well in the win over Crystal Palace. But the Palace interest has never gone away. And some might say it's ironic if we've been speaking all show about Chelsea needing a midfielder, if they let a midfielder go. But financially, the right offer might well come in and allow that one to get done. It's going to be a push now between now and the end of the January transfer window. I think Chelsea's valuation is probably around 40 million. I think Newcastle are again a club, along with Palace still. Their interest hasn't gone away. And it will be intriguing, really, if an offer comes in to see what Gallagher wants to do. I think at the beginning of the season, especially when Tuchel was still there, he got pretty firm guarantees that he was going to be integral. And Crystal Palace came calling, and Gallagher effectively said, no, I'm part of the Chelsea team. But with a lot of these players, Mount falls into this category to some extent, Pulisic, Ziyech for sure, and then in midfield, Conor Gallagher as well. They must all be saying, yikes, if Chelsea are moving at this pace with 7-year contracts, 8-year contracts for creative-minded players, for wingers, for midfielders, for centre-backs, where does that leave us? And if they're in their early or mid-20s, those conversations will definitely have to be had. So I think that Conor Gallagher is not impossible in 2023. Newcastle and Palace are the two clubs to watch there as well. But if there aren't outgoings in January, significant ones with fees, then obviously the summer, I think 3 or 4 players will have to exit in order to not really only get some incomings from sales, but basically create the squad space, because at the moment it's becoming a very big squad.
Very hectic is what I would say, and it seems like it's going to continue as well. I know you're going to shoot in a second, but I just wanted to really ask you quickly on Madueke as well. Obviously signed for Chelsea yesterday, being told it's a 7.5-year contract, which will take him to Chelsea till 2031. 35 million package overall, confirmed yesterday. Obviously we've got Mudryk. We've now got another direct, quick dribbler that can play off the right as well, playing for PSV. Just a couple of words on him. What's your thoughts on that deal?
Yeah, great signing, and again, very much within Chelsea's strategy and the mold of player that they are looking for. So the fee, actually, as I understand it, is 37 million euros, not 35, which is maybe where slight confusion in reporting. Some are saying it's close to 40 million or at 40 million, particularly over in Holland. The English media are being briefed, myself included, 35 million. But when I actually asked at the player end, I was told 37 million. And fees are always disputed, by the way. I said this again many times, that when you succeed, you want it out there in the market, the lowest possible rate. And when you are the seller, you put out the highest possible rate. So we saw this with Wesley Fofana as well, where the Leicester side were constantly briefing world record and the Chelsea side said it's nowhere near a world record. And I think that's really important, because I get a lot of questions about fees, and a fee is the one thing that lingers in the market, because Chelsea don't want to be held to account by previous fees all being known to be high. So they're always going to brief a low fee. Because they want it out there in the market. They got the best possible deal. And again, the seller will always put out a high fee. And when something fails, it's even more extreme. which is where with Enzo Fernandez, we have to be very careful, because Chelsea are not going to say they failed at 127 million euros. They're going to say they failed at 85 million euros. And Benfica are not going to say that they ever entertained an offer that's failed that was anything under the release fee, or their fan base are going to go nuts. So we have to be careful with fees, but it's somewhere in the region of 35 million euros. And as I say, I'm actually told the specific fee is 37 million euros at this point in time. The only question mark, and I know this isn't what Chelsea fans will want to hear, is other clubs that looked had concerns about the fitness and the injury-prone nature of the player. So given that Levi Colwell, even though that's not Chelsea's fault, is another one on the injury list, and given that Chelsea haven't had a great track record for whatever reason, some of it's bad luck, of course, down to injuries, getting a player that maybe has that aspect of picking up injuries more often than most is a area to watch. But like I said, every injury has its own story. Every injury isn't predictable. Every injury isn't somebody's fault. Sometimes it's off a challenge. Sometimes it's not preventable. Sometimes it's caused because you've made a key challenge, or you've done something in a game or training that you're supposed to do, and it's just bad luck. And other times it's down to not enough due diligence over minutes management or data being used to prevent injuries. So this is what Chelsea are trying to revamp. They're trying to change their medical department to be more predictive, more proactive, more aware of, where a player has a risk and how they can prevent that. And it is about preventing the injury before it happens, rather than only dealing with the injury when it happens or after it happens. And you don't get any credit for that, unfortunately, because if the player stays fit, nobody goes like, everyone give the medical department a round of applause. They just go, isn't it great that Reece James hasn't been injured for a while? But actually that can be down to things like data, science, monitoring. So then sometimes in selection, when you see a player rested, it might be down to some input from the medical department as well, but you're never going to hear that because they don't want to give too much away. So I think that medical departments are much like referees and goalkeepers, where we only talk about them sometimes when they make errors. They're onto a sort of losing narrative sometimes, because they just don't get spoken about when things are going right, and they get hammered when things are going wrong. So just be aware of that. But, very dynamic player, very focused player, very aware player, fast, direct, and complementary, I suppose, if we're looking at the long term and everything going to plan with Mudryk as well. So you start to see a front line building, and then Nkunku's going to come in as well. And then maybe the final thing to say is just, where does everyone I've mentioned sort of leave a player like Kai Havertz, and clearly Aubameyang as well? And this is where in the summer we might even see a player like Vlahovic creep into the conversation, and that might spell the end of somebody like Havertz and almost certainly Aubameyang come the summer. The last bit of information I just wanted to add as well is just contrary to some of these reports about a late January move, Aubameyang actually can't move back to Barcelona, even if it was done on a free transfer, because even though he could return to what would be construed as his second club, as in you can't play for Chelsea, Barcelona and X, but he could, in theory, under that one rule, play for Barcelona again and Chelsea. So that led people to think that it could happen. But then there's a secondary rule under FIFA that the RFEF have to abide by, and that's the actual physical registration. So because he was registered under Barcelona to start this season, then registered for Chelsea, then he would still have to be re-registered for Barcelona, which means that even though it's only 2 clubs on paper, it's still 3 clubs in terms of, from a paperwork perspective, registration is concerned, because it switched away from Barcelona, switching it back to Barcelona's 3 registrations in one season, and the FIFA rule prevents that. So therefore, there's no possibility of Aubameyang moving anywhere in January, unfortunately, from his perspective. But the summer may well be a different story.
Interesting stuff. Still over 900 people here. Thank you for all still being here. We're going to continue because we're going to go on to the Graham Potter's press conference and talk about the Liverpool game as well. Ben, I know you've got to shoot because you're a busy man as always. So thank you again for coming on this show. And there's a lot of questions people are still asking. Save them, guys, and we'll get them into them probably next week again if we can get him in. And when he's got a bit more time to discuss them as well. But any sort of last words?
Only, as I said before, that Chelsea are going to be busy. They are going to be working, I think, right until the end of the window. I would still be surprised if they don't get a midfielder over the line. And in addition to that, don't rule out a sort of younger player as well, because I think that they still see that ability to operate in January and maximize the time in January with the global model in mind as well. So it isn't only about the first team. It's also about the, Andre Santoses of this world. And there's a few more out there in the market that Chelsea may well be in the conversation for as well. So by the end of the window, much like in the summer, I think people are going to be very pleased on the football side, but that needs to now be backed up with a turn in form. Because this season can't be seen as a write-off, and it isn't by the hierarchy either. They're not just doing this because they sort of want to quieten the noise and plan for next season. They're doing this because they believe that Madueke, Mudryk, etc., Badiashile, who I thought did really well on his debut, can make the difference. And when you see how João Felix before the sending off had an impact, you can definitely understand why Chelsea believe a bit more bite, a bit more unpredictability, a bit more flair, a bit more movement can create confidence across the whole team. And as soon as Chelsea, make no mistake, I know there's been some question marks about Koulibaly. I know there's been some question marks about Cucurella. But of course, Chilwell's coming back. Of course, Reece James is coming back. So I feel, only my personal opinion, that when everyone is fit and firing at Chelsea, the clean sheets are, I don't want to say not as important, because it's so frustrating when you concede goals or give yourself mountains to climb. But I think Chelsea, if they start scoring, it won't just be a few goals, it will be a lot of goals. And therefore, they may well have that ability in the second half of the season to be winning games from behind, scoring 3 or 4 goals, not just 0 or 1 or 2 goals in games. And that, I think, was the difference. That I looked at Palace and I thought, okay, they won, but it wasn't like they killed off the game. I think we're going to start seeing Chelsea killing off games. And if they're killing off games and they're leading on the front foot because of the Mudryks or the Felixes or the Havertz getting in form or the Sterlings chipping in with more goals or Mount finding a bit more consistency, then of course you want the clean sheet, but it becomes less important. So I expect Chelsea to score quite a few goals in the second half of the season. We can have a little bet here. And from today, we can put everyone at 0. Between now and the end of the season, put everyone at 0. And I think as of now until May, it's a bold prediction, Chelsea will be one of the top 3 goal scorers in the Premier League out of every team. And if they are, then that's not going to put them too far away still from a top 4 finish, especially with Tottenham wobbling. So let's wait and see. It's a big prediction. It's a bold prediction. It's probably one that most people will disagree with. But let's have a little bet on it. Let's start everyone at 0 now in terms of goals scored. And let's see who's in the top 3 come the end of the season. And my money will be that Chelsea will be one of those 3 teams.
That is a bold statement. Bear in mind, we can't even create a chance in the last blooming 3-4 months. It's been a nightmare. But yeah, Ben, thank you very much for being with us again. I'll let you shoot because you've got other places to be at. And see you again very soon, mate. Thank you very much.
Look forward to it. All the best, everyone. Bye.
See you later. Bye-bye. Guys, still over 950 of you here. Big up to every single one of you guys that are still here. Smash the likes. I know we haven't got enough likes currently in at the moment. We're going to move on to Potter's press conference. Quick team lineup for the Liverpool game because we've got the Liverpool preview, and then open the lines for the next, half hour, 45 minutes, and then we're going to finish off. So smash the likes as always, though. Let's get these likes up, please. And quickly, because we haven't spoke about it as well, because it happened again yesterday. Madueke is a Chelsea player. As you heard it, Ben Jacobs said it, probably around 37 million is what he's been told as well. That he'll be at Chelsea until July 2031 with a huge 7.5-year contract. He will not play against Liverpool tomorrow, even though he's passed his medical and whatever. He's not, obviously he's not trained, so I didn't expect him to. So people that thought he may, no, it's not happening. He then will have a clear period of being able to train with Chelsea, because after this game, I believe we ain't playing until the 3rd of February. So no games until the 3rd of February, which gives him time to mix with the team, you know, train hard and whatever else. With PSV coach Van Nistelrooy on him, said it's a mix of emotions. We lose a good player because of his departure. There was no turning back, and there was a solid financial compensation, I can emphasize, with the interest of the club. So, you know, Chelsea doing their bits. And, you know, another forward added to the list of players that, the long list of players that potentially Chelsea are going to look to sign. Caicedo, will we go in for another bid or not? It's not been ruled out, as Ben said as well. Chelsea have gone in with a 55 plus 10 million add-ons. Could we go in again? I'm not too sure if I want us to. I don't want us to kind of overpay for the player. I feel we might be able to negotiate better in the summer for a deal for that type of player. I know we need midfielders. I do. It's one of the first things I think we need to get done. But at the same time, you know, how do we, how far do we want to go with this? And I'm talking about money. And if we can get it done on an installment plan, which kind of benefits us on a long-term basis, and they get a bit up front and whatever, and we manage to do it that way, potentially, you know, but it's going to be very interesting to see, because this Chelsea team's looking different, guys. It's definitely starting to look different, and it's starting to pull things together. It was also going to talk about Vlahovic. Dusan Vlahovic as well. He had some news on that, but we never got around to talking about it as well. Apparently, we are in talks with him. Whether it's going to go any further for an actual forward, a number 9, we'll have to wait and see. We know that he's on quite a big wage, and obviously he was bought by Juventus for quite a lot of money, so potential maybe low. I don't know. We'll see. But keep your eyes out on that as well. If Chelsea cannot sort out the midfield line, which will be interesting to be seen. Let's quickly go into Potter's press conference and see what he said as well. And then we're going to quickly do a team lineup, and then we're going to open up the line. Still over at 800, nearly 900 of you here combined at the moment. Big up to every single one of you. Let's see what he's saying. So, Graham Potter has confirmed Ruben was on the bench last, but he's a lot closer now. Boys are progressing well. Reece and Ben will not be involved. So I do expect Reece and Ben James to be involved, but they're on the pitch, they're training. Could potentially be available from February the 3rd onwards. So going into February, where we play Dortmund, where we've got a ton of games to still be played. Still, 19 or 18 games after tomorrow? 18 games or so to be played in the Premier League. It's a lot of football, guys. There's a lot of football. And now we've got Mudryk. Now we've got, obviously, Madueke, who's going to be in the team, I think, as well. It gives us directiveness, creativity, dribbling ability. Something that I've always said that I want from the forward line. I want players that can get the ball and run direct. Be direct. Use your speed to get behind. Use your ability to take players on. Create space for others. Maybe we might see a better Kai Havertz, because I do think he may lead the line. Maybe you'll see a better Aubameyang, because now he's going to have chances created for him. Mason Mount might even look better in a deeper role, in an 8 or a 10, whatever we decide to play. So, yeah, we'll see. But again, the midfield is another one. We know Kante could be back for mid-Feb, end of March as well, which is what we've been told. Graham Potter on Madueke says there's a lot of noise, but nothing to announce. I'm not in a position to speak anymore until he's a Chelsea player. I don't know why he said that, because he is a Chelsea player, isn't he? Not a Chelsea player? Been told he's a Chelsea player. On Mudryk, Potter says good, really good, young, exciting, fantastic speed. We have to help him adapt. Hasn't played so much football recently, trained well, and see how much he can play. There's a chance to make a debut. 90 minutes, no, but probably a role. So I got a feeling that Mudryk could start 60 minutes and then be taken off, or he'll be put on 60 minutes and be given half an hour to play there. I would rather see him start. If he's trained and his fitness is 70% there, I'd give him it. I'd just throw him in. Especially up against Trent Alexander-Arnold, would be interesting. Graham Potter says he has to adapt to us. The competition, the young player with a lot of potential, exciting player is what he says there. He's come in, trained very well, happy to be here. He's looking forward to his career. And then he goes on to Potter with more signings. He says, I don't think there's going to be too many more. I've got no complaints about this squad. The January window is very complex. So I don't think there's going to be any more. There's going to be too many more. Actually, he didn't say there's not going to be any more. He said, I don't think there's going to be too many more. which means we're probably still out in the market looking for maybe one more. I think one more, guys. I really do think one more is on the cards for Chelsea. Potential departures. Constantly, you have to analyze the squad. Sometimes it's adding or moving out. That's on a case-by-case basis. So the bigger the squad gets, the larger it gets, the more we're probably looking at who's going to be going. You heard Ben Jacobs saying the balance of the books, the wage structure needs to be balanced, etc. And we are in line with FFP. Now, let me say something. If you've not seen Ben Jacobs' comments on FFP, at the end of the show, go and watch it from the beginning, because that's where he really delves into it and gives you a real understanding and breakdown of FFP and why Chelsea, as a football club, in the means of falling in line with it, even with the amount of money spent. He says, beating Liverpool is my focus rather than what's going on. Happen in 5 months' time. It's not worrying about. We have to focus on the next game. I don't know what he's referring to there. He talks about Liverpool. He talks about Cucurella. It's been challenging for Mark. He's had some things off the pitch, family-wise, that's been difficult for him as well. There are all sorts of things going on in the players' life. So apparently Cucurella is having a bit of a hard time in his personal life. Might be rubbing off against his performances that we've been seeing of recent. Lewis has done well, but we have to manage him as a role, he's saying. So we might see Cucurella back in. And then he goes on to say, we had a period of suffering. It's nice to win. The good thing is we were together, a group who understood the position but determined to turn it around. The win has been important, but we have to back it up against Liverpool. And it's true. We have to go there to win. Have to win, guys. What else is he going to say? That's it, really. That is it. So no Chilwell, no Reece James. Yeah, let's do this quick lineup, because I want to do the lineup and then I'm going to open up the lines and get you guys in quickly. So I think it's going to be like this. We're going to open up the lines on the back of this as well. Kepa's going to play because Mendy's still injured, as we know. We know Ben Chilwell's not available. Does he play Lewis Hall or does he play Cucurella? I think Cucurella is going to play tomorrow. Up against Mo Salah. Got a feeling. I want to see Badiashile there. I got a feeling he might go with Koulibaly, but I want Badiashile. I want Silva. And then this is the problem, isn't it? No Reece James. You either go for Chalobah or you go for Azpilicueta. Actually, do you know what? I've changed my mind. We are going 3 at the back. Yeah, we are. We are going 3 at the back, because I just realised that we've done that the last game round. I think he's going to do 3 at the back again. And I think you're going to see... I think Cucurella is going to play still there. I don't think Lewis Hall's going to play, guys. I think Azpilicueta is going to play, because we haven't got any other choices. I think Kovacic will play. We ain't got any other choices. I think Jorginho will play, because we haven't got any other choices. So, where is he? There he is. So, I think it's going to be something like that. I think they're going to still want to worry about what's going the other way. I don't really want to see Jorginho playing, I'll be honest with you. Zakaria's out. I would have put Zakaria straight into that midfield. I think Azpilicueta... do you know what, actually? No. I think we'll play Ziyech. And then from Ziyech, I think we're going to play Havertz up front, because I just see it. I think I've got a feeling Mudryk might start. And then I think you're going to see Mount. But in Mount's position, I think it would be more like him in and around here. And then, I don't know, Ziyech playing a bit further up, if you know what I mean. So in the way that we did last time. But maybe, yeah, something like that. If you don't, then it's going to be Ziyech there, Mudryk. I think Mount's in the team. He's going to be somewhere in there. He won't be playing on the right, but Ziyech could be on the right and Mount will be more in behind. And maybe Havertz and Mudryk playing together further. So maybe like a 3-5-2, 3-4-3. I think it will be something like that in terms of the way that we're going to set up. I want to say thank you to Naveen Nathaniel for becoming a member at Chelsea Fan TV as well. Thank you very much for doing that as well. I'm going to put the link in the chat, because I promised you guys the opportunity to come in and have your say. Yeah, if we don't do the 3 at the back and we decide to do the 4, then it will be more like this. It'll be more like, where's he gone? Yeah. It'll be more like that, but it'll be more like that with them 3 being there. I don't know. Will he play Aspilicueta or will he play Chalobah? I think he might play Chalobah for speed because, who they got on that side these days? They got Nunes, they got Gakpo, they got Salah. I don't know if Diaz is fit. It could be a 4-2-3-1. It could be with Mount, Mudryk, Ziyech, and Havertz because we don't have much choice. Let's be serious. It's not like we've got tons of opportunities, I've got a feeling he's going to go 3 at the back, though. I really do. I really think it's going to be at 3 at the back, but we'll see. Don's in the house. Don, what are you saying?
What's happening, bro?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just in my car right now. I just drove to Manchester, so I'm like 15 minutes from the hotel. But can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah? Cool,
Yes.
cool.
What do you want to say? Talk to me.
What about the signings or the game tomorrow?
We're talking about the game, aren't we? So yeah, we're talking about the game.
Oh yeah. I think the lineup you've put up is the lineup that I would personally go with as well. I think Mudryk definitely needs to start. He hasn't played since November, right?
He hasn't played for a while. He's not going to get 90 minutes. Potter's already confirmed he can't do the 90, so it's whether he starts or he comes on in the 60th minute.
I need him. I need him to run riot on that left side, man, because they've got Trent, and right now defensively, Liverpool ain't it. Do you know what I mean? I feel like with Mudryk starting, we can definitely have a good chance to start the game well, rather than chasing the game. I think he'll be a key player in terms of how we want to play against Liverpool. Because right now, they're defensively, they're shocking, mate. It's such a hard game to call, Jem, man, because we're going through it. They're going through it, but I feel like at the moment there's a kind of light at the end of the tunnel for Chelsea fans. And just from Potter's comments as well, I briefly saw on Twitter, he mentioned that there's a big buzz around the training ground at the moment with all the players coming in, all the players coming back. So I think mentally at the moment we're in a better position to the Liverpool players. So I think Mudryk from the start definitely will be a big part in feeding the rest of the attackers as well as hopefully being a threat towards goal as well, definitely. So I think Mudryk definitely needs to start. Badiashile, he needs to stay in the lineup as well. Only thing that I'm not too sure about is the right back position. I think that one Chalobah has to stay in there as well. He's not the ideal candidate, but we just don't really have any options. So yeah, that's a good lineup we put out there, man.
If Mudryk don't start, who plays on the left then? Is it going to be like?
This is it.
Yeah.
This is the
Mount?
thing. I don't know. I don't want to see this guy there. You know how I feel about Mount, especially on the wings. So I think, look, just play Mudryk. Even if you ain't got to play him for the 90, I think this is definitely a game where we can get.
It's a shame that we haven't got Madueke, isn't it? Really, because you could have just thrown him on the right and just gone quite direct. And it's a shame that he's not available for it. I mean, what's your thoughts on the signing of him? Are you happy or?
Yeah, no, he's a good player. I think definitely on the right. He gives us that, that threat again, one-on-one. I've seen a few clips of him. I haven't seen him play. Actually, I saw him play against Arsenal in the Europa League, but I didn't really pay much attention to him that game. I was looking more at Gakpo. But from the clips I've seen of him, he's very direct. The type of wingers I like. I like wingers that take on their man, enjoy beating their man, enjoy, improvising, just doing things that might not look great on the eye, but it works. Do you know what I mean? He looks a bit...
Yeah.
Dribbling doesn't look the best, I'll be honest, but in terms of how he gets out of tight positions, he definitely looks like the type of player that we could do with, and a player that's actually going to be effective. And I think naturally that's going to improve Sterling as well, because Sterling, I think for Potter sees him more as a right winger more than on the left. So I think with Sterling having that competition, it will definitely up his level as well. And just with Madueke, like the few clips I've seen of him, he looks like the type of player that likes to play off the midfielders, receive the ball back. We've missed that a lot up top. Do you know what I mean? And funny enough, like yesterday, I saw the clip. Today is one of the anniversaries of the goal that we scored against Brighton. Remember Willian, Batshuayi, and what's his name? Hazard. That link-up play that they did. Yeah. So I feel like with the attack that we're building now, we're going to see a lot of those goals, Jem. Like what Ben Jacobs just said there about him thinking, the second half of this season, we're going to be one of the highest scoring teams. I'll be honest, it might be a bit wild to a few people, but with this current attack we're building, it's realistic. Let's be real. And if we get a midfielder in there, I feel like, the attackers that we're bringing in can definitely create amongst themselves the way our attackers used to back in the day with Hazard, Willian, Bashwai, whoever it was that was playing up top. So I think even when it comes to the link-up play, he definitely looks like he's a player that can definitely do that. So, yeah, no, I'm happy with the signing, man. I'm happy with the signing. I'm not going to go over the top and say, oh, he's going to hit world-class levels. But he's definitely in an environment where he can improve as a player and definitely an upgrade on what we've got up there already. You know what I mean? So
100%, mate.
For me, I'm happy with the signing, man. Definitely.
Over 800 people here at the moment. Big up to every single one of you guys that are here. Nearly 1,000 people. Big up to you. Make sure you're hitting the likes, guys, though. Let's get this to 200 likes on both GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV as well. Please subscribe to both of these channels as well. But one's on the road to 10K. The other one's on its road to 200K. So let's try and help and support that if we can. Let's go to Adnan quickly. Adnan, how you doing?
I'm fine, man. How's everyone? How's everything?
All good, mate. All good. How are you feeling about the signing of Madueke and tomorrow's game?
For Madueke, I think this is for a signing that shows us that we are not going to stick with ZH, obviously, and Pulisic also. For ZH, Pulisic, and Sterling, I think they are going to have to look for other teams because Potter and the new ownership, they want young players, fresh minds. They don't want dressing rooms with a lot of buzz around. They want players with happy faces, and I don't think Sterling and ZH and Pulisic are those kind of players, and they have to move them on.
And you're being a bit harsh on Sterling because Sterling's been brought into an environment where he's not going to be the effective Sterling we've seen at Liverpool.
But you need to build around him. You need to add more to him. That's what I agree.
You need to add more to him. So I don't know what your expectations are of Sterling, but Sterling's a player that needs to be fed. Sterling needs to play with other players that can link up play. And as you know, there's a massive disconnect between our defenders and our current attackers and even the midfield. So Sterling, you should see him improve his performances going forward with who we're looking at and the attackers that we've brought in already. And like I said, it should up his performances because he knows, right, okay, but Madueke's there. If he's playing well, I'm going to get dropped. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we need. We need competition on every front. So I think you're being a bit too harsh on Sterling because he's been brought into
I think we should hire a special doctor for Madueke because we cannot hide away from his injury and stuff like that. This guy is like a biscuit. He's like Pulisic in another form. This guy gets injured for free.
You're jumping the gun a bit. I'm sure this is something that the board and everyone's sort of looked at. And hopefully, again, with Sterling there, we should be able to manage him. He's not going to play every single game. So injury-wise, I think people, again, over the top a bit. I know his injury record doesn't look great. But if you manage him well, and with this inquiry that's going in with the medical staff, I'm sure there's lessons that have been learned. So let's be a bit more positive, man. Let's not look at the injuries at the moment. Yep, injuries could happen to anyone. But I'm sure that's something that they've sort of looked at and are going to manage it well because he's a young player. He's explosive. He likes to beat his man. Of course, he's going to get tackled. Of course, he's going to, pick up these muscle injuries. But I'm sure they've got a plan to manage him and make sure that Sterling gets enough game time as well.
100%. I think Sterling we wait on. I think we have to wait on it, and I think we shouldn't jump the gun. I always said when we bought Sterling, it was never enough. We always needed more around him. What we actually needed is what we've actually got in two players, which is direct dribblers. And AJ's been around when I've said it before. Get creators that can pick the ball up and run with it and attract players towards them. Will ultimately, create more space on the pitch. And you might actually see a better Aubameyang, Havertz, Mount, because now they can start running into the spaces, and this is what I'm saying. I'm so interested to see how a Mudryk does, how a Madueke does. If they both play at the same time on both wings, it gives us direct speed running at people. We're going to look different, I'm telling you, in the way that we go forward. So that's going to be interesting to see.
And I think if we want to really be the highest scoring team in the second half of the season, then we have to get Aubameyang and Havertz scoring. Those are the two players that are going to be playing at the top of the formation to actually be scoring the goals for us. At the end of the day, Mudryk, Madueke, and Felix, they're creators. They're not especially known for their goal scoring. Aubameyang is known for scoring goals.
I think we should give Aubameyang a little bit more time because I think people overlooked at what Aubameyang did for Arsenal and for other teams. This guy, when you give him chances, he's going to bury them. You saw
Yes.
those Champions
This is his
League games
chance.
against AC Milan, where Reece James was putting on a plate for him, and the guy was burying them. But
He's a
after
finisher.
Reece James went off, there's nothing. No one was actually creating for him.
Yeah, 100%.
And look, just take
Yes.
it back to last summer, mate. We were nearly in the mud paying 60 million for Anthony Gordon. Yeah, let's think about what would have happened if we got him. Look at what we're bringing in, man. Let's look at the positives, because there are going to be negatives for every player, but let's look more at the positives. Let's focus on that.
We're on a rebuild, and I think that all needs time, and we can clearly see that the owners are showing a bit of ambition and trying to just get things done, I would say as quickly as possible, but also towards the philosophy and projects that they have in their minds as well. But let's quickly go to some other people as well. Ben, what are you saying?
About the game?
Everything. Madueke, the game, you tell
I
me.
just feel like the new signings are going to really complement Havertz. I just feel like he's going to go really, really good at go mental this second half of the season. Because, to be honest, he's been scoring all our goals, and we just forget about it. Like the goal against Crystal Palace, the goal against Bournemouth. He scores goals, but we just forget about them. And I feel like with the Mudryk and Madueke, he's going to have so much more people to feed him those goals and those crosses.
Yeah, I think with Havertz, I think the test now for me is seeing him in a team where you do have more creators, where you do have direct dribblers, where you can now use your movement, which is what what he's good at doing, and run into spaces. But he has to be more effective in front of goal. That's what I will say. He has fell out of form, but like most of others have, and that's going to be the test. Will we start seeing a better, not just Havertz, but a better Mount, a better Ziyech, a better team, shall we say?
The thing I feel with Mount and Havertz is that they play better with better players around them. They're not the players that will get a result for you. I think a Mudryk or a Madueke might get you a result, but if you have like a Reece James, Chilwell, and the other guys surrounding Mount and Havertz, they can really be good players. That's the thing.
I think.
I agree. They're complementary.
What about Liverpool as well? Like, what's your thoughts on the game tomorrow?
I would throw Mudryk in. He just looks like a beast. I think he can deal with that pressure. But I just think that we should really not risk it with James and Chilwell. Just hope that we're both the two really injured teams, and just hope for a result, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, but Reece James and Ben Chilwell ain't available. Loftus-Cheek is on the bench. Yeah, he is on the bench.
I think Potter said that for a tactical reason, maybe, because I don't really find a reason that he wouldn't put him straight away.
They're not on the bench. I don't even think they're on the bench. They've only just started.
No, I think they're talking about Mudryk.
Right, okay.
He might be on the bench, but I think he might start. Maybe it's like tactics.
He didn't specifically say he wouldn't. He just said there's a potential that Mudryk could make his debut, but he won't be able to play a full 90 minutes. That's what he just said. Like, so whether you see him at the beginning, whether you see him in the 60-minute time, he's got to make that decision. I'd like to see him start if he's
me too.
But we'll see. Chelsea fan, what are you saying, Chelsea fan?
Excuse me.
Adnan, wait, I need to go through other people, mate. Chelsea fan, what are you saying?
Yeah, should I go ahead?
Yeah, go on, mate. Go on.
Yeah, so I just want to say one thing, that all this spending that we are doing right now, I'm just scared that what is happening to Everton, that might happen to us also. I mean, Farhad Moshiri was going mad with spending left, right, and center. He was buying players. It didn't turn out well for them, and look what has happened to them. So that's what I'm really scared about with all this spending.
Yeah, but
I know it's not a very positive thing to say. We know we are rebuilding, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I feel that I don't know
Chelsea fan,
where it might go.
Let me ask this: can it get any worse than what we've actually seen?
That's what the Everton fans thought. They were pushing for 10th. They for the Champions League places. They finished 10th. Now look where they are. They are fighting for relegation. I'm not saying that we would fight relegation, but I don't know.
So would you rather us not go crazy in the market and try and add additions and just keep what we got and just slump, or would you rather us buy players and try and improve the squad and take the hit and just try and kick forward as quickly as possible?
What I would just say, if we plan it out or structure out our rebuilding process, over a period of time, like Liverpool did or some other clubs have done in the past years. Like in fact,
Where
even Manchester.
have you been? That's literally what they've been doing. Have you been living under a rock? I'm a bit confused. Like there's literally a structure in place now. There's a plan in place now. We're not just spending blindly like before. So I don't know.
I'm not sure whether there is a plan. I mean, there are so many players in the squad.
Why? Why do you not
till
sure
now
there is
I haven't seen a plan. At least.
Yeah, but you're not really. But this is the thing, and this is what annoys me with Chelsea fans a bit. Not just you specifically, but in general, right? They all clearly have an idea of where they want to go and do things. Because we can't specifically see it now, doesn't mean there isn't a plan.
I do agree, but look at the way Arsenal did it. They took time. They stuck with Arteta. They took 2-3 summer transfer windows. They brought in players. Over time they built the squad. You keep on adding players. There is going to be tension.
Maybe
in
we don't
the
want
squad.
to be Arsenal. Maybe we don't want to have a 3-4 year.
Maybe we don't want to be, but
don't you prefer to get like the thing going on straight away? Like
that's what I'm saying.
Get all of the deadwood straight away and have a quicker process.
That's what
For
Everton
me, not
tried to
having
do.
a
That's what
plan
I'm saying.
doesn't make sense. Actually, not having a plan doesn't make sense. Who buys a club for billions and just says, "Let me splash a lot of cash and see
I
my
get
team
what he's
lose"?
saying,
No,
though.
it's
I get what he's saying.
I do get what he's saying. We're going a bit crazy in trying to get positions solved. I know what he's saying, but to say that I'm not sure that that we've got a plan, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know about the plan part.
I think there is an idea. The question is with it is the plan going to be successful? And we don't know that yet because it's still too early. So that's the big question mark. Whatever it is that they're trying to do, and they're buying players, they spent 400 million and this, that, and youngsters, and what they're trying to do. So I don't know.
I'd say we're a better club than Everton, and the players we're bringing in are a different quality. And on top of that, they're mixing in with.
I do agree with that, but there is always. They are struggling with the FFP rules. Where they have more than 200 million losses in 3-year financial periods. If we don't, if we are in the same position, let's say a few years down the line, we don't have money to spend. We are stuck with a squad which is half decent or
but it
not
seems
interested.
Like they found the way to maneuver the FFP with buying the young players, and so I think they've covered that. I think they've thought about that thoroughly already. They're handling that.
They are
properly.
saying, they are giving long contracts out. Hopefully, I guess.
It's a loophole because if you haven't watched it already, go to the beginning of the show and listen to what Ben Jacobs said about financial fair play and why Chelsea fit in it and the plan and what they're trying to do, etc. It does involve the long-term contracts. There is a little bit of a loophole in the FFP, and I'll be honest with you, I don't think it'll be around for too long. We see Nottingham Forest sign a player the other day for doing what Chelsea do on a long-term contract. There is a little loophole, is what I'm saying at the moment, and I think it's being used. And we have to see it at a late stage. Uzi, what are you saying?
About the game or everything in general?
About the game, about Madueke, the guy we signed yesterday, about Chelsea. What do you want to talk about?
I'm keeping my expectations low. I'm looking at the squad you've got on here. I think it's good enough against the current form of Liverpool, but it's still not promising. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if like Chelsea fans saying, we are signing a lot of players, which I'm happy with, because then I'm hoping we get rid of a lot of players who don't want to be at Chelsea. But I'm not sure yet. We had Lampard who didn't have transfers and did well, and then got transfers and did bad. So I'm not sure if we've got it right from coach to players. I'm waiting for it to unfold. But yeah, at the moment, I'm just happy that we're not doing trust the process. I'm hoping we get this sorted within a season.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll have to.
But there's a lot of question marks. Like I'm hearing even the Mount comments. I think, I'm a Mount fan, so I think this also helps get the pressure off him. I think he carried us for a season and automatically became the player that we expect will carry us through this turmoil that
Well,
they're going through.
his performances
It's,
at
it's,
that time said that he's that player, but the past 2 seasons have shown that it might have
Yeah, I
been a
think.
blip, or it might just
Yeah,
be he's off form. You know?
I think we also forget this. They like youngsters, so
Yeah.
when he started, he was hungry. There was no expectation. It was like just. It was surprising to see Lampard playing every game, and then eventually we got on board, and then we put the pressure on him, which he
Well, that's
tried to
what
take. He
happens when you
tried to take it
perform.
on, but yeah, I think he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready to take
When
on
you
that pressure.
perform at a top level, you set an expectation and you show that you could do that. So now if you perform that certain way for a year and then now 2 years go and you don't perform at that, people are going to start questioning like what happened to that guy. So I think it's pretty normal as to what happened to Mount. He just needs to step it up. He has a chance to step it up. So he's in a good position still.
No, I agree. I think with all these players coming in, it might help. Like players like him, we might see Havertz. I'm on the fence still about Havertz. I'm not sure if he's slowing up the game or if he's actually ready to really step up and be our goal scorer. I'm still on the fence with Chelsea. I'm just happy that we're showing intent. We're not going the long way, but we're yet to see if it's actually.
Uzi, Sorry,
Yeah.
Uzi, I can see why you're skeptical. I can definitely see why you're skeptical. Because that season after the transfer ban, we spent a lot of money, and looking at it now in hindsight, a lot of those signings haven't really worked out. Even though some of them have Champions League medals, they haven't really worked out. But if you look at the profile player we brought in at the time, Ziyech arguably is not a Premier League type footballer. He can't beat his man, right? I look at him more as a central player rather than a winger. You look at Werner, again, good movement but can't finish. And you look at who else do we get that summer? Havertz. No one really knows what's his best position.
There's
But
no
now
real
you
plan.
can clearly see. Yeah, there was no plan there. Mudryk, you can see that he's direct. You can see he's going to beat his man. Same thing on the other side now. The other winger we've just brought in. Nkuku, clean finisher, very technical, can play up top, can play in the hole, can play on the wings. You can see that there's a difference in the profile player that we're bringing in. So I do get where you're being skeptical in terms of the amount of players we're bringing in now, but the difference now is that there's a clear plan in terms of the profile player. Whereas before it was just bring anyone in, it was a bit.
Yeah, I think it was very scattered, is what I'd say in the past. Even though we brought a lot of key players in, I don't think we really thought about it well enough under that part of Marina and what we did. But this time, I think we're trying to go through. It's a youth. We kind of look at the era, and I think it's like we're looking for young players. I think we are still looking for players that we need for the now as well. I think that's the balance now, is to try and find a midfielder that's proven, that can come in, that has that profile, that's what kind of known in an Enzo or a Caicedo, for example. So there's still a lot more to do. I'm not sure how much they can get done in the January window, and it might go into the summer. But I think we'll have to wait and see. But Sasko with a donation says, everyone is overreacting. Trust the new guys in place. They hired these guys for a reason. This is something that's been thoroughly and planned. Relax, guys. I agree. I think the relax word is probably the right thing at the moment. Don't try and understand what they're trying to do, because we don't know. When you try and understand things that you're not sure on at the moment, it's not worth thinking about yet. Just let it play out. And after a summer, after the continuous summers, and as Chelsea start to slowly go into a mould, then hopefully we'll start seeing, and it will either be for the good or it will either be for the bad, and it didn't work. So we have to just wait and see. It's very hard to judge now, guys. And I understand you guys sitting on the fence still and not being sure of the plans and whatever, but let's just wait, is what I'm saying, and see what's happening.
Jim, do you know what I forgot to mention?
I do agree.
Just on that point.
Don, you got to sort your mic out. Don, you got to sort your mic out because it's going all mad at the moment. Just quickly.
Sorry.
CFC Ace, what do you want to say, mate?
Appreciate you guys having me on the show. I just wanted to say I've been hearing what everyone's been saying, but at the same time, I think we as like a Chelsea fan base, we need to understand that a lot of these players that actually really gotta go. The likes of like Ziyech, all of them. Ziyech is in Pulisic. I think they need to go, and I think this is gonna be some sort of period that we're not used to, because as a fan of Chelsea, as you lot are as well, we're not really used to having any patience with our players or manager or whatever. But I don't think it will be like an Arsenal sort of thing where we wait 3 years. I reckon it takes us. I reckon after this season we start to see what we're really about under Graham Potter, and we'll definitely be like showing what we're about. But I feel like something about Graham just I want to trust in him, but he doesn't really have that sort of thing that's gonna motivate me to think, yeah, we're gonna go on to win things with him. Because at the same time, you might have been a calm guy at Brighton on like the sides in the dugout, not really saying anything, but that's at Brighton. At Chelsea, there's like a different sort of expectation. With Tuchel, I don't want to bring it always back to Tuchel, but with Tuchel, if you say look back to the Real Madrid game when we won 3-1, when we lost 3-1, like he was fuming. I remember when they asked him questions about the next Real Madrid game, he was doubting whether we could even beat Southampton. He was questioning the fact that we can't just be looking at the next leg. We've got to look at, are we even going to beat Southampton? That's the sort of mentality I want to see from Graham. If we do start to see that, then I will have a bit more optimism. But with him, I want to believe in him, but there's just not giving me belief.
I agree with what you're saying in terms of Potter, and I think, listen, there's still an expectation from him to progress and move forward. However, I think now he's starting to get players in and whatever. Now we need to start, like you said, now we need to start seeing the systems, and the quicker we start seeing what he was trying to do is when we can start really focusing on Potter. The issue I have with Potter is that the more we strengthen the squad, which we're going to do and the owners are doing, if he can't get a tune out of them, then there's a problem, a clear problem with the manager here, that he can't get the best out of these players. And then, maybe we're right. Maybe bringing in a manager that hasn't got the experience or the resume or the CV of a Mourinho coming in to be able to deal with these profile players, maybe it's not worked. But at this moment in time, I think it's very early for me to still pick on Potter yet. I just think he's been unlucky with injuries this season, with 11 injuries out as well. There's a lot of things that we have to take context in. The only thing I would say with him is that I haven't seen him being able to get the best out of what he has, which we have seen with Tuchel, which he did do. So, that's the only thing. But other than that, I think we need to just give him time, see how he does with these new players, these profile players. Maybe we start seeing the systems and what he wants to do more. And then going into next season will be the big, keeping everyone fit. Will be
to be fair to Graham, I will say he one thing that our fans are. I see a lot of the content creators. They're always quick to get onto players, but at the same time, and the manager. But at the same time, we have got like a lot of our players out there. It's not a joke. Like people look back to Liverpool season, where they had no centre backs out. We literally have our centre back out, our two good fullbacks out. Reece James goes into every team in the world, so losing him is already a big loss. And the level of players that we have out. I can sort of understand why Potter's having this sort of like win, loss, draw run, because at the same time he can't really think of the players he can use because he's not got the best of them available. But I'm really positive about this Liverpool game, even though we've got a lot of injuries. I've got a good feeling about this Liverpool game, especially knowing that Mudryk might be starting on the left as well against Trent. That I'm hoping he can cause Trent a lot of problems.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see, mate. It will be interesting to see. Let's go to Everiste. Everiste, what are you saying?
Hello, guys.
How we doing?
Hello.
What do you want to say, mate?
I want to talk about three things. I want to start on our game we have on the Saturday. So I think about the right now, we're gonna play. We're gonna start with 4-2-3-1. We have Kai Havertz on the point, and Kai on the point, and then Mudryk. I think he's gonna start on that match, and the Mount on number 10, and to the other side, and the other side Ziyech.
Okay.
And on the transfer we are making, I want to say I'm happy with that guys. Some people are talking about the money we are spending on the market, but we know what we know is the players we are buying, we are signing are very talented, and we're gonna see what will happen in the future. We don't know. what we know is they are very talented, and we are exciting to see them playing. And the third thing I want to talk about is about injuries we have. We see we have many injuries in the defense, midfielders, the strikers, and as a football club, we can't say that like every club with injuries can't win more matches, but we're trying to signing the different players. These injuries we have, if another club, even Arsenal, Man City, Man United, Liverpool get these injuries, may be in the position we are in now. So I'm happy with the board. Todibori is doing better, and he's trying to bring talented players. And what I think we have to solve the problem we have in many years ago, replacing our top players. Until now, we see from the time that player Eden Hazard, we don't replace him well. The players was coming and try to play. We see the Captain America can replace Eden Hazard by not working well.
Yeah.
The problem we have is, I think, typical number 6. We don't have a typical number 6 in our team. So I think the last deal we can do in this January is signing Moses Caicedo. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for your thoughts. Yeah,
thank you. I think
I wouldn't say Caicedo's a 6 though. That's my problem with that signing. Like, if we're gonna sign Caicedo, we still need a number 6. I know everybody say, "Oh, he can play there," but that's not him. Like, if you look at all the top teams, Arsenal, Man U at this point, Liverpool, City, they all have a true number 6, not as somebody who could fit there, because that's the thing that we like to do. We like to fit players in places that they're decent in, but they're not top class. United put Casemiro there, and as soon as he started playing, they went on like a 10-game winning run. Like, come on, we have to look at what works and try to do that as well.
But Potter wanted Bissouma, and everyone in the fan base is like, no, what is Bissouma going to do? Because he can't do anything in Tottenham. But this guy Potter is the one who worked with Bissouma. He's the one who made him, a valuable asset for the club, and got a lot of cash in. So they should give Potter what he wants. He wants Bissouma, give him.
No, but I don't think Bissouma will leave Spurs anyway. They just got this, so I don't think that's going to happen personally. But AJ, what's your thoughts on the Liverpool game tomorrow and stuff, mate? Because I'm going to finish off soon as well. So let me know your thoughts and everything as well.
I just want to win. It'll be nice to win over one of our top 6 rivals. Have we beat anybody?
No.
It's time to get that W. Liverpool's in a bad moment as well. I think, what is Liverpool, like in 9th, or they're like 1 or 2 places like ahead
of us?
They're above
us. They're in about 5th.
So it'll help us. We'll probably
they're
look
in
better.
9th. We're having the same points, and they're in 9th.
There you go. So a win will be not a statement win, but it'll be a boost to the team. We need to go on like a winning run. I say we need to win like 10 to like 15 of these last games, but I mean it's hard for 15, but I say 10 to 12 wins in this last part of the season, and then maybe we could finish in the top 6. But I don't know. Yeah. But I just hope we win 1-0. That's what I'd say.
So we got this this has come up on Twitter of Madueke on the private jet to Chelsea, funny enough. There we go. Trying to get it to work. There we go. I don't know if you can hear anything. No, it's not. No volume, but there you go. That was last night, him flying over to Chelsea as well. So there we go. He is at Chelsea. He's obviously done his medical.
He's smiling.
He's smiling. We're just waiting for the more of the announcement now as well. But on that note, I'm going to give my thoughts on the game. I think to beat Liverpool, we have to be fearless. I think we have to control the game. I think we have to press from the front, not give them time on the ball. We know that Liverpool, with a bit of pressure, they tend to try and struggle. On top of that, I want to see Badashile playing tomorrow rather than Koulibaly, in my opinion. Yes, it's a big game for him to come in at, but I think it'll be good to see. And overall, I just want to see a better performance. Will Mudryk start? We'll see. I'd like to see him start. I think it will give us something. And it's going to be an interesting game. All I would say is 12 o'clock kickoffs have not always been Chelsea's greatest time to play football in the past, but hopefully we can change that as well. We've had so much bad luck recently. Hopefully our luck can change. Reece James and Ben Chilwell will be back on, well, the next game after this will be February the 3rd. So there will be a break in between, which means we'll have the time to like Madueke, Reece James, Ben Chilwell to train. Wesley Fofana's back as well in the next 9 days as well in training as well. So, things are slowly starting to look more brighter going into the Champions League. João Felix should be available after, not this game or the game after, but the game after that, isn't it? So not the 3rd, the game after that. So he'll be available going into February as well. So there's a lot of good things, and why the buzz might be around the team at the moment is the fact that we're getting strength again. When you look at us on paper with a fully fit team, and I'm talking about all of them, including Kante as well, we shouldn't be where we are. Let's be serious. We should be in the top 4. I keep saying that, and I stick to the fact that I think we should be in top 4, but it's just keeping that team fit. And I think we're going to win. I always stick to us winning. I think they will score. I think it will be a 2-1 to Chelsea. Maybe even a 3-1 at the end. So we'll see.
But this is Anfield. This is Anfield. They can wake up anytime. These guys here, these Liverpool guys.
About them. Yeah, it's Liverpool, of course. Yeah, they can beat us on their day, but and I have definitely got that in the back of my mind. But I'm never going against Chelsea ever when it comes to playing against any team.
Chelsea. Whenever Chelsea are the underdogs, that's when they perform at their best. Exactly. And I hope tomorrow the players just put all the bad form behind them and just a new start before the break comes in.
Let's see, guys. Let's see. Make sure you leave a comment below, letting us know the score predictions for you for the Chelsea the Liverpool versus Chelsea game. I want to know your predictions. Will Mudryk start as well? Let us know below as well. Yeah, guys, thank you for coming in. Enjoy it. Still over 700 of you here. Big up to every single one of you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be back again very soon. Take care.